Pleasant good afternoon, good afternoon. My name is Joel Greenidge, and today we are here for an interesting episode, the first episode of Woke. Woke is a program that basically is about youth empowerment, awakening the consciousness of our young people. And in the studio today is my good friend, Marcel Lewis. I would just put you over to Marcel so he can introduce himself.
First and foremost, it's a pleasure being here on the inaugural episode of Woke. As my brother said, is to awaken the consciousness of the young people, to foster positivity, and to really bring out the potential of the Grenadian youth. And it's a pleasure being here. And I feel honored being with my brother Joel Greenidge.
Well, Marcel, today we have some very interesting topic. Over the last few months, I have been engaging many young people, more so young professionals. And I have made an observation after interacting with most of these young people. What we find, we have a very, very dire situation in our country. Most of our young professionals are seeking opportunities to further their dreams in other countries of the world. We are losing some of our best minds. Matter of fact, some of the best minds in the Caribbean, I would say, to other foreign countries. What do you think has contributed to that, and what do you think are some of the solutions that governments and other stakeholders can take to ensure that young professionals can realize their dreams right here in Grenada, that they feel a sense of hope for a better future for themselves and their families?
Well, first and foremost, to make an observation, there have been a lack of opportunities for these young professionals, whereby there isn't an environment whereby they can use their skills and their intelligence to grow, as individuals. And they've been ambitious. They are seeking greener pastures whereby they can fulfill their dreams and to uplift themselves and their families. This is a personal choice. I will not, have any negative thing to say about these individuals. But I speak solutions. In terms of, I want to see a conducive environment whereby these people can be incorporated into nation building, genuine nation building. One of the biggest problems we have in our countries is that of square pegs in round holes. I want to see our young professionals in a position whereby they can succeed and whereby they can build our countries. One of the things that we were lacking is having the competent people in the proper field. Because in Grenada, not to bash this administration, but we see a lot of people are in position not because of competence but because of political affiliation. And this is one of the things that we have to really get rid of, and to incorporate our young professionals so that they can add to nation building, because we need those young people to build our countries and our economy, because they're adding value to someone else's economy. So it's very, very important that we provide a conducive environment whereby they can maximize their potential and skills, and also open doors for other young people, because they would be learning from their brain. There would be a brain trust, so this is how I see it.
And just to add to what you're saying, you touch on some very, very valuable point. One of my observation in our country today, you find that a lot of young persons, for example, a young person went off to study, took a student loan. In some cases, their parents mortgaged their home, their lands, and that young person go off to study. That young person come back, they are competent, they are qualified, but because they cannot find a job in the area for which they are skilled, they are forced to take up very mediocre jobs. Like in the case, some of them are wardens, some of them are in stores. Are we really maximizing as a country on the full capacity and potential of our young people? And is it a deliberate effort by the government to keep young people disempowered economically so that they can have that sense of control getting them to become dependent. Because just imagine a young person, whatever small income that person gets when the month comes, that money goes towards paying their student loan. And then they have little or nothing to survive on. Is that a deliberate system that has been put in place to keep our young people dependent so that we can control them, so that they can come line up at a party office or by a parliamentarian for financial support? Is this a deliberate effort by the government? What would you say about that?
Well, as you clearly stated or you insinuated, I believe everything is by design, and it is applied to keep our young people entangled into that needy philosophy whereby politicians can use them. But the mere fact that we have in a program as woke is to wake up that consciousness so that young people will feel empowered and to bring about a positive change. We need change, and we need change genuinely, and it is unacceptable to have our young people, after they have invested so much in their education, to, which was meant to empower them, to come back and to be doing mediocre jobs. You know, we have to create that environment that will set these young people up for success. And they're needed, and there's so much value they can add to this economy. And these are monies that will be staying in Grenada. When we hire a foreign national, this is monies that live in our economy and go into someone else's economy. So it makes a lot of sense incorporating those young people within position in our country. It makes a lot of sense, and I firmly believe that we should definitely treat our young professionals better, and even to the ordinary youth on the block as well. So there is a cry not only for the young professionals but for the ordinary young person, and having a program as woke, would highlight those cry, and also we will speak solution whereby young people can empower themselves. And I feel honored, sharing this program with yourself, Mr. Greenidge.
And I must say that some of the points you touch are very valuable points. One of the things I would also want to highlight is the fact that there's not enough succession planning in terms of preparing our young people to take up their rightful place in society. We are the largest youth population the world has ever seen. And going forward into the future, we will make that transition as adults. If we look at the work environment and at the community level or the governance level, do you feel that young people are given an opportunity for succession planning? And two, if you look within the corporate environment, you see that there are people who are 65 and 68 thereabout, and they're still holding on to very lucrative position despite the fact that they may not be inclined with the technology. For example, I remember there was this person who was a Imani, right, working for $700 or $800, and that person, being technological savvy, was doing the work of someone in their 60s who have actually been retired, receiving a pension elsewhere, but they have been given an opportunity again to collect a fat check. And the work was being done by an Imani who was just receiving a mere $800 because that person was not inclined with the technology. What do you think about situations of that nature, and how do you think that young people can be given an equitable opportunity to maximize their full potential and gain value for what they can produce to our economy?
Well, first and foremost, my thoughts on that is, I will say, multi-dimensional. At one level, I don't want to have like this war with the older generation versus the youths, because to grow as a country collectively, we need everyone effort in terms of the differences in generation. We want to bridge that generational gap to have our young people and our elders working together. It's heartbreaking sometimes when you read the stories that you have people who have already registered, and when you look at their salaries, and they're young people who can actually do the job, and they're not getting that opportunities. While a young person is getting $700 to do the same job, you have somebody that is already retired who is receiving pension, who is collecting upwards to $6,000 to $7,000 a month. I'm not here to bash the administration, but that is the same administration that says they care about the young people. So woke is designed to wake up the young people consciousness to see through lies and to find out who really love you. If an organization or administration care that they love you, they would provide that opportunities. I'm not here to bash anyone of a different age group. I think that for Grenada to grow, we all needs to work together. Both the wisdom of the old with the energies and the passion and the drive of the youth.
And I strongly support that point. I don't think there should be a war between the older generation and our current generation. But we have a situation in our country today where young people have felt that they're being stifled. They felt that they're being stifled. And let's look at it from that angle. A young person went off to study. That young person come back and they say, listen, instead of us going to the well every morning with 2 buckets and draw water, right, back to the home, let us build pipes, let us connect pipes, and it takes you straight to the home. So therefore, you don't have to get up every morning to go fetch water, right? An elderly, if you look in a society today, that young person might be perceived as being rude, because that person is coming forward with innovative and creative ideas to make the system efficient. In our work environment today, you find that tends to be a serious problem affecting young person. Young people are filled with energy, they're filled with passion, they're filled with drive. They have that ingenuity spirit. They have that ideal for success and prosperity, but they are not given that opportunity, and our country is not benefiting from those attributes of our young people. How do you see us as a country moving forward so that we can maximize the value that we can get from our generation? You have spoke about it. We have seen what Mr. Kill and those young persons would have done. You would have seen the benefits to our economy in terms of dollar value. We have seen what Kirani James was able to do because those young people was given the opportunity. But they're young people who have a lot of creativity and energy and passion, who can also contribute, whether it's in sport, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in the governance, wherever position we can fit them in, but they're not given that opportunity to maximize their true value.
I definitely understand where you are coming from, and I respect your point of view. And I am gonna quote Malcolm X. Malcolm X said that we're not outnumbered, we're out organized. And I'm saying to the young people of Grenada, it is time we come forward as a group and as a unit and have serious conversation. Let us hold our leaders accountable, bring them at the table, and let us make demands of them. This is what we want. This is what we need. If you're not gonna do this, we're not gonna elect you. It is time for the young people to organize and centralize. So I would say the unification of the young people is very important. And if the young people were to vote as a bloc, then they can leverage their power.
And
they
I
can
agree.
leverage their numbers. They can dictate to a political party, and they can look into their manifesto and demand certain things. This is what we want. This is the policy that we need. So this could only come by unification, organization, and that is very, very, very important.
As you spoke about unification, I've always emphasized the point that young people should not see themselves as NMP youth or NDC youth, but they should see themselves as young people united for a cause. And that cause is basically to save our generation and defend the rights to our dream, right? On the subject of unification, over the years, I have advocated for the establishment of the National Youth Council, right? A National Youth Council is the umbrella body for all youth organizations in the country. And despite the advocacy, I have always wondered why there have always been a deliberate effort to undermine every attempt to establish a National Youth Council that brings young people together. Why do you think this current administration feared the unification of young people?
Well, everything is by design to hold on to power. You keep the young people divided. And once the young people are divided and they're fighting amongst themselves, you can go on your merry ride. But once the young people are unified, they're organized, they would hold you accountable. They would have a more powerful voice, and they would make demands of you that you will have to follow through if you want to remain in power. And the National Youth Council, it is a brilliant idea. And the mere fact that we having this conversation right now, we're going to sow that idea into, I would say, favorable soil, and this will become a reality. We're not only, woke is not all about speaking, but it's about putting things in place, it's about solutions. And I'm so happy that you would have brought up this point, and this is something that we're definitely going to work on. We're going to reach out to other young persons across the political spectrum, bring them together at the table to discuss the issues of the day, the national issues, the issues that is affecting the young people. We want to get a youth on the block. We want the young professionals. We want everyone. We want people from the religious community, from civil society. We are going to have a deep conversation, and we're going to chat the way forward. And that is what woke is all about, is that conscious movement, and it is needed.
And just to touch a point, I think it's really important, based on what you said, the whole idea of not just leaving out any young person. Not, it's like, for example, I think we can move in a direction of having like a national youth conference that brings together all youth stakeholders, right? Whether it's, as you said, the religious youth, the youth in agriculture, the youth in sport, the youth in the creative arts industry, the young professional, and really give young people an opportunity to articulate their issues, their concerns, but also for those young persons to have a say in the direction of our country. Because you realize currently young people don't have a voice. And also, because of the political culture that has been created of intimidation, bullying, victimization, you find a lot of young persons, they may not publicly speak out like how me and you and many other young persons may speak out, but when they meet you in the streets, or they pick up their phone and they call, they're able to articulate their concerns. But because of the fear that has been created by this current administration, a lot of young persons, their voices are suppressed. What words of advice would you have for young people who wants to speak out, who wants to break the silence, but are fearful about the consequences as it may relates to losing opportunities, maybe being left out of a youth development program, or other family members might be affected by their decision to speak out? What advice would you give to a young person who may who are inspired by the work that you and myself and other young persons are doing, and say, you know what, boy, I want to join that movement for progressive change. I am awoken. My consciousness have come to light. I feel I have a responsibility to the next generation and to my generation to speak out for better Grenada. But I'm afraid. What advice would you give to that person?
The advice I'm gonna give those young people is something that I've said before. When will you be brave? When you're 50 years old, you're living in your parents' house, only to realize that your best years is already behind you. When will you be brave? When all of your dreams and aspiration has evaporated into nothingness. There is not a better time to come forward than now. And woke embodies the cry of the youth. Woke, I would say, is defined as that single mother with 4 kids whose name has been taken off the seed program because of the political party that she supports. Woke is the ghetto youth on the block who is frustrated right now, who is smoking spliff after spliff, who is confused. Woke is the young person right now in the rum shop who is drinking shot after shot, who is confused, who is lost. Woke is that intelligent young woman who is writing application after application, and she cannot find a job. Woke is that young professional as well, fresh out of university, with a lot of ideas and a lot of energy. But sad to say, the country of his birth don't have any opportunities and avenues for him. So all of these people are embodied in woke. And I'm happy that they are awakened. I'm happy that their eyes are open. And that will lead to affirmative action. Action by having a youth summit, coming together, organizing, and charting the way forward. So we're not outnumbered. We are out organized. And once we organize, every administration in this country would respect the young people, because we would have one voice, and that is what is needed, and that is how we break the silence. That is how we defeat the fear.
A very, very, very strong point, Marcel. I mean, we just had, we just celebrated March 13th, that historical day. And I mean, when you look back throughout our political history, the revolution period, it was young person like ourselves. I mean, young persons who were 19, 15, 16, 17, who decide, listen, I was going to put aside my personal dreams, my personal goal, and I was going to sacrifice so that future generation will be free, that future generation will have opportunities. And you saw so many young persons got involved in the development of our country. Young people were involved in youth development program, mass organization groups. Young people was protesting, they were standing up, they were brave, they were bold, and they fought, and sacrificed for a better Grenada. We looked at what happened within the 4-year period of the revolution. I mean, while other countries of the world was recording negative economic growth in the midst of the Cold War period, Grenada was envied by the rest of the world because our economy was doing well, and it was young minds. Do you think that our generation have what it takes to relive that era, not in terms of the violence and stuff that was associated with it, but the whole issue of sacrifice, selfless sacrifice, and really standing up against the power that be, and organizing ourselves into community groups and organization, and really fighting for a better country, and ensuring that our voices are heard, and that we have an opportunity to create the future that we deserve? You understand? Do you think that we can get to that point?
I most definitely think that we can eclipse the era of the revolution. We have a lot of amazing minds, young minds. We have Tevin Andrews, we have Ron Redhead, we have Kireen, we have Judd Cadet, we have Joel Greenidge, we have so many wonderful, bright minds. And all we need to do is to organize, Joel. And once the young people comes together, once the young people bring those ideas at the table, and they're dedicated enough to ensure that those ideas bear fruits, we can eclipse the revolution. We have no disrespect to anyone in that era, but in this current construct, with the minds that we have, we can eclipse the revolution. And we have to have a nationalistic approach to things. We have to be able to put country over, I would say, even personal ambition, because I know you being here is at a risk, but you have a dying passion, a dying passion or a burning passion to see your generation improve. You are looking at the future of your unborn granddaughter. That is the reason why a Joel Greenidge came from, came forward for this country. And you have done a lot. You have made a lot of significant contribution. And even myself, you have had a positive effect on me. And if a Joel Greenidge can spark all these people around the Caribbean, let us imagine what 15 other young person as Joel Greenidge could do. I believe that we can eclipse the revolution, but we have to be organized. We have to come together. And my message is a message of unification. And that is what woke speak to. And once we woke and we awaken, we can eclipse the revolution. We have the idea, we have the skills, we have the imagination to take this country forward. and it's time we believe in ourselves, and it's time we woke.
And the truth and the fact is, right, we were looking at earlier on young professionals, and we spoke a lot about, young persons going off to study, accumulating huge student loan and finding it really difficult to pay their loan and not receive the type of job that will give them the sort of income. I am of the opinion that as a country we need to look to the technical areas. For example, as you drive around the country, you see there are persons pulling the wires on those wires and stuff, right? And when you look, you realize they are foreigners. You're not seeing any Grenadian or young Grenadian in the mix, being an apprentice to such an initiative. What do you think as a country in terms of looking at other avenues to create opportunities, technical training, and opportunities in the area of agriculture and the creative arts industry? What do you think as a country we can do differently so that those young persons do not feel left out, but we can provide employment opportunities in those areas?
Well, first and foremost, what I would say is that we need to do a full assessment of our labor market. And we have to have, I would say, let's say, a 40 to 30-year plan. Once we have that plan, we would ask ourselves who are the young people, or who are the people that we're going to need to execute that 40-year plan. And we're going to train those young persons into that field. We want to map agriculture. We want to map every ministry, and in a way that they would operate more effectively and more efficiently, and try to find out as to how we're going to best fine tune it. And there must be assessment, Joel. And once we have that assessment, we will know who are the people we're going to need. And then I would say that, there will be a lot better situation that we're seeing currently, because to be quite honest, our school system, as I see, is setting up young people for failure. We're training people for jobs that does not exist. We're educating people for work that does not exist. And to me, this is unfair, because we're asking you to study, we are asking you to invest, we're asking you to make so many sacrifices, and when you have done this, there is no job. And it is time we start selling lies. I'm not trying to be derogatory, I'm not coming down on any teacher. If I would have come across, or I coming across as that, I sincerely want to apologize. But it's time we train and we educate our people for success, as you rightly said. And to find that out, we have to do a full assessment, and we have to have a 30 to 40-year plan. Who are the people we're going to need to execute that plan, and we train them in the necessary areas. I said something once and people might get angry with me. And I don't think that government should give away any scholarship for areas as well. Because at the end of the day, this is not something that is going to build our economies directly. We need engineers. We need people in the agricultural sector who would come back and who would develop that sector, who would help that sector grow. So before government gives anyone a scholarship, government have to ask the question, are these individuals going to come back and build our economy? How can we best utilize those individuals to build our country? And this is how I see it. So,
You have been a champion, an advocate for young people in the rural community. What do you believe can be done to help the economy of the rural economy that is currently on its bending knees? And I mean, the young people in the rural community, most of them have given up. You see a lot of them on the block drinking rum, as it has become the new profession for most of these young people. Not that they want to spend their day idle on the block, but when they look around, there are no opportunity for them. What do you think can be done currently? If you, let's say, with the MP, for St. Patrick's West, what would you do differently than is currently being done to help the rural economy?
well, first and foremost, I would do an extensive assessment of every single village in the parish, find out what are their strengths, what are those young people into, and bring them at the decision table to better be able to choose what path they want to follow. Because, for instance, there are communities that are fishing communities. They're known for fishing. Why not go to them and try to have better boats, improve their techniques in terms of deep sea fishing? So we're gonna have a fishing cooperative so that these fishermen within that specific village would come together, pool their resources, and to benefit as a unit. This is how we grow communities. There may be a next community, as my community of Chantemelle is rich in terms of culture. We want to come into that community and have a cultural center whereby young people can learn in terms of arts and performing, also farming as well. My grandfather, was a brilliant farmer. He feed 8 children, send most of the people in the communities even abroad by lending them money. So farming is something that I hold very dear to my heart and something that I'm passionate about. And we work with the farmers. What does those farmers need? Is it that fertilizer is too expensive? What about giving those farmers concessions so that they can bring in materials and vehicles which would help them farm even more? What about the marketing as well of those produce? And I believe what is needed in the Ministry of Agriculture is to map the entire country. You meet with the restaurants, the hoteliers, and everyone, the supermarkets, and you find out what they need. And then I would come to St. Mark's, I would give St. Mark's a specific set of crops to grow. I come to St. John's is going to grow this crop. St. Andrews is going to do this. St. Andrews is going to do this. In that way, we don't have, I would say, any gluts in the market, so everyone would benefit and everyone would make money. So we have to break down this thing into a science. There is too much of guesswork, and as a young generation moving forward, we're gonna take a more scientific approach to things. So this is how I'm gonna work the the rural economy, and the government has, or the administration, if I should say, they have to be honest with themselves. The rural economy is on her knees, and she's begging and she's crying and she's pleading, and her sons and her daughters are frustrated. They're into rum, into violence, and as a young person, this is the reason I am here. This is the reason that I am taking a risk. This is the reason why my blood is boiling in my vein, and this is the reason why I cannot stay silent. I have to spark their minds, and organizing, coming together, unifying, we can build a rural economy. But we have to work together. We have to put petty politics aside. And as I said a few days ago, party politics is the cancer that is killing Grenada. And Grenada rise the day party politics dies.
And you mentioned the whole party politics culture in the country. And I mean, it has been, let's be honest, it has stood the test of time, despite many efforts to bridge the political divide and bring people together. I know it's not in the interests of the powers that be, who are just concerned about consolidating power and enjoying the opportunity that comes with it. But from the standpoint of a people, you have many people over the years who have supported, let's say, a political party that has enjoyed power for a very long time. And when you look at the economic situation of those persons, they continue to remain in poverty. What advice would you give to those persons who continue to hold on to party politics, yet for all the economic reality continue to be dismal? What advice would you give to these people as we awaken their minds? What advice would you give to those persons?
Well, first and foremost, as you stated, it's to be woke, is to be enlightened, is to have your eyes open, and to asking the critical questions. It's time that we put emotions aside and we analyze. We analyze a political party and their philosophy, and we ask ourselves. I have been supporting this political party for the past 15 years. What are the benefits? You know, have my community improve? Is my parish develop? Is my economic standing better than where it was when I initially started to support them? You ask yourself those questions. And if the question is no, then you look for an alternative. But a lot of people talk change, but change is scary. You know, it's dangerous. And one of the things that is out there is what if? What if I support a political party and that political party loses? You know, will I be victimized? Will I lose my scholarship? Will I lose my job? You know, will they come after me? And all of these are valid questions, and these are some of the fears that keep people trapped into supporting a political party that does not have their best interest at heart. So these are one of the fears that I'm verbalizing right now, and they're real. I will not say that those fears aren't real. They are real. Because at the end of the day, imagine you have your mortgage to pay, you have four kids to take care of. You want to be vocal, but here is the boss man threatening you and telling you that you can lose your job. Be quiet. What do you do? Do you continue to speak? Or do you hush? And these are the real life realities facing a lot of people in Grenada who wants to come forward and have a conversation. But I say to those people, let us be organized. Let us unified, and there is great strength in unity. And to those people who have been supporting this administration over and over again, and who is in the dream that something different will happen, you know, not to be rude or to make any derogatory comments to you, but this is insanity. They're not gonna deliver, you know, and it's time we come forward as a people for change, real change, you know, change that speaks fairness, that you can benefit from any social program regardless of your political affiliation. You know, change that says that our best minds would be given the opportunity, you know, to be a part of nation building. You know, that is the sort of change where our young people can maximize their potential. This is the kind of change that I am speaking into. You know, this is the kind of change I am speaking into being and into life. You know.
You know, as we on this topic, Marcel, one of the things that is needed in order to prepare our young people to take on that fight, that fight for progressive change, is the awakening of the consciousness of our young people. It is basically stated that we have a youth population that makes decision on impulse. We are not critical, we are not analytical, and anything to do with politics or governance or development, we find we are is not our place. At the end of the day, whether we get involved or not, nothing will change anyway. We have that sort of mindset. What do you think we need to do, or we can do as young people who have already been awakened, who are critical and analytical, and who can articulate the issues in our country? How do you think we can contribute to getting our peers on board in terms of developing that mindset that is necessary for change? What do you think we can do?
Well, first and foremost, what we have to do is that we have to bring this consciousness and this awakening into the communities. We have to take it to a grassroots level. We have to bring enlightenment to the block. We have to bring it in the shop. We have to bring it to the churches. We have to bring it to the sports club. Every single young person under the song of our voice has to be awakened, you know, and we have to unify the country. You know, as I stated, party politics, it has been that cancer and is eating away of the Grenadian spirit. You know, one of the things I was most impressed with was the unification of our artists in Trinidad, the way that everybody bonded together for one goal and one purpose, to represent their country and to put our country on the map. And I'm saying to our young people, to our future leaders, if Mandela Links, Mr. Killer, Lil Von, Wasways could come together, and to do something so remarkable. Imagine what 20,000 young people can do by coming together. Imagine the amount of projects that we can do. Imagine the amount of communities that we can build. It must come down to a grassroots level. The awakening has to come down to the ordinary youth and the ordinary Grenadian. And conversation like this and programs as this is a light into this darkness. If Mandela links Mr.
And I
Killer,
just want to add some strength to your point. I believe development starts at the community level. It has always been something that I have echoed, because where do our leaders come from? Where do young people come
imagine the
from?
amount of
They come from
projects.
communities. And if we have community organizations and community groups that focus in on empowering our young people, teaching them skills, teaching them emotional and intelligent skills, and teaching them how to do craft and how to do dance and how to do music and how to do art or whatever it is, that sort of community spirit can prepare our young people to make better informed decisions. And you know what will happen as a result of that? Because our people will become more critical and analytical, the individuals that put up themselves as potential candidates will have to think twice, because they know by being put up as candidates they will now come under the scrutiny of the persons within their constituency and community. They will be held accountable for their stewardship, and therefore they will not they will be forced, in a sense, to represent the people in a way that benefits the constituencies and the communities. Communities leaders and community groups will hold them to task. But right now, with all community groups on the ground, nothing really happened with them. Candidates or MPs, I would say, is just having a good time because they are not whole to task. Like for example, in the last election, they roll out their manifesto for the constituency. After a year, they just had a year, March 13th. How many people gave them a scorecard and said, listen, based on the projects you said you were going to do within a year, based on this road you say you were going to build, this youth development program, where are people to hold these people accountable? These parliamentary representatives are just having a joyride. It's like a fun in parliament. They're having a joyride. Some of them have not visited their constituency in months, and no one is actually saying anything about it. So therefore, I think it's really important that we help revitalize the community groups. There has been a lot of community groups over the years, but right now all these community groups are dead. So I think it's really important for us to get these community groups back up. Those community groups that was once very vibrant. It's important that we get those community groups back up and help to establish parish councils. And I think that would be the foundation for really getting our young people involved at a community level in leadership capacity and help to develop their critical and analytical skills. So I think that is something we can do.
Most definitely, I am in full agreement with most of the things that you have said. And it's not that the community groups are dead. The community groups are infiltrated by political operatives, and most of those operatives, their job are to spy on people rather than to uplift the group and to add anything that is different. So once again, I am coming back to my original point. Party politics is killing the creativity of this country. Party politics is killing communities, and it is time that we kill party politics. And what is our weapon? Our weapon is unification. It is unity, and we as the younger generation, we have to come together. We have a responsibility, and that is unification. And as you rightly said, we have to go into the communities and build communities group by group. You understand? And this consciousness have to be at a grassroots level.
And I strongly agree. As it relates to young persons who have slipped through the cracks, who would have made mistakes, who did not have a fair opportunity because of, issues that would have happened in their early life and everything. How do we get those young people to feel that they are not isolated, but they are part of the development process in the country? Because most times those young people feel like they have a voice in this country is when election comes around. But I have learned based on interaction with a lot of those guys that they have a wealth of ideas and knowledge that can help to develop our country. But because they may not be of an academical nature, they are isolated. How can we capture those young people into the whole picture of what we're trying to do so they don't see now about this thing seem bigger than me? I don't feel I can fit into this. How can we make them feel like, listen, your voice, your support, your ideas also matter? What can we do to really reach out to those young people like that?
Once again, we can achieve that by going into the communities and, as you say, going on the block and having one-on-ones and conversation with those young people and letting them know that you are important. Life has been hard for you. You have made several bad choices, but your life is not over. You have valuable energies that you can add and you can build this country. You are important. You are needed. You may not be a scholar, you have a university education, but you may be a boss carpenter, you may be a boss mason, probably you may be a good mechanic. So you have a part to play in nation building. Everyone, regardless of your level of education, all is needed to build Grenada. All are needed. The youth in Gun Battle, the youth in Montreach, the youth in River Sally, Rosehill, Horseshoe, Current, Pedmota, every single youth is needed and they are important regardless of your past. You know, we are a team. We want you on board. We believe in you. You have had a bad past, you've made mistakes, but I believe that you can do better. We believe in second chances and we want to bring you together and we want to work with you. And that is what work is about. Work is about galvanizing the entire country and pulling our young people together, on a platform or in a place whereby, we can work together, where we can build. And work is about building, it's about positivity. And to those young persons on the block, you are wonderful. And because society brand you as probably you're smoking weed, you're drinking rum, you're no good, your pants under your bottom, I see potential in you. I see strength in you. I see a leader in you. I see a community builder in you. And I believe in you.
And I must say, it's very strong points, very valuable points to all young persons out there who are looking at this first episode of Work Weather via Facebook. We just want to let you know that you are valuable, you're phenomenal, you're powerful, you're extraordinary, and you have what it takes to contribute to the development of our country. And, Marcel, we made some points earlier on that not every young person wants to be lawyers, doctors, and teachers. But some person may just want to be carpenters, some persons may just want to be mason, some may just want to be painters, some want to be a football player, an athlete. Do you believe that our current administration is doing enough to give those young people that youth stakeholder right there, an opportunity to make their dreams a reality? And if they are not doing it, what are some of your suggestions in terms of giving those young persons an opportunity to realize their dreams right here in Grenada?
I would say, that the potential of the young people in Grenada are stifled. There are a lot of people who they have the energy, they have the idea, they have the imagination, but the opportunities aren't there. And they may be branded. They may be independent thinkers. They may have a political ideology, and because of that political ideology or beliefs they may hold, they are sidelined, they are maligned. They're out of the current construct. They're branded. And to be quite honest, there there is a lot that needs to be done to those young person in terms of, because they're hot, they're hurt emotionally, they're feeling rejected, they're feeling like there must be something wrong with me. Why am I being rejected? My ideas are good, my plans are good, I have good ideas, I want to change my country. I want to be an artist, I want to sing. you know why isn't there a studio in my community? The same MPs are taking selfies with most of the soca artists. But one question I want to ask some of those MPs: can you list at least one studio you have built in your constituency or in your community? And everyone wants a photo op moment. They want a picture with Mr. Killer with Mandela links. But what are those MPs doing in Mandela Links' community, in Mr. Killer's community, in Mr. Leg's community? And there are a lot of young artists. They have the drive, they have the ideas, they have the song, but they don't have funding in terms of recording. So I would like to see the government be more supportive to those young person with those talents. I want to see more studios being built. I want to see concession on studio equipments, because I have friends who have studio, and to bring down those equipments in Grenada, it is very, very expensive. And if we care about our culture and our art form, I think that there probably should be 100% concession in terms of studio equipment for young artists and aspiring musicians, so that they can bring down those things cheaply, and that will better be able to improve the quality of our music. And also, do we have something in place, or some organization in place, whereby we can take those raw talents and harness it? Can we teach them how to conduct a proper interview, how to dress properly, how to speak properly? Can we teach them about money management? Because when you go out there and you make your money, you have to be able to put it into good use. Are we teaching our artists how to invest? What are the programs that we have to harness the talents? Or do we just want a photo app moment whereby we can just take a selfie and post it on our Instagram and WhatsApp status? We want to be able to develop the talent at a grassroots level, and that is what this administration needs to do. Because as you rightly stated, not every youth wants to be a lawyer or a doctor. There's a little youth right now who wants to be as Mr. Killer. There's a next local youth that want to be the next Boise, that want to be the next West Face, and we need to support that youth. We need to believe in their dreams, and we need to put resources into that belief.
And boy, very, very, very powerful. I'll shake your hand on some of those points you make, my brother. I mean, you mentioned something, and as you were speaking about it, it brought me back to 2008 general election, when I was one of the youth faces for the NMP in the St. Davis constituency, and I could recall meeting Mandela Links, because we stayed not too far away from each other. And I remember while I was going around in the constituency trying to get, those young people to support the party, because predominantly that constituency had been a stronghold for the NDC, right? Because at the time I was with the NMP. And I remember when I was going on just taking notes, of what the young people wanted in the community. I remember Mandela Links put me stand up for almost close to half an hour, he and a few other guys, and they said, Joel, what we want, we love music. We didn't finish school, we come from very poor homes, but we love music. All we are asking of you is, if your party, once y'all win the election, build a studio in the community. And I remember going back to the candidate and I said, listen, this is what the young people in the various community, that's their passion, that is what they wanted. And surprisingly, that was not achieved, right? That was not achieved. And every time I saw Mandela, he would always speak about his music. He would always have a song for me to listen to, but he could have given up along the way. And I have seen many other of his peers who also had a good passion for music, some of them who was even better than him. But because they did not have the determination, and because they did not receive the support, we saw those raw talents just dwindle away into the thin air of hopelessness. And as we travel around the country, I think you can attest to that, there were so many young people with so many talent. Just recently in Belmont, I met a gentleman, a young guy, and I was surprised. You know, there's a saying, never judge a young person based on face value. He may be on the block, he may dress in a particular type of way, and we are quick to judge a young person, but not knowing that this guy was a chef. That this guy was a chef, and just by listening and just being there, not quick to judge, he was able to go on his phone and you was able to see some of the design of meals that he would have created. And all this young man is asking for an opportunity to create his own restaurant. He said, Joel, if I get to have my own restaurant, some of those places in town that I see some of those food, they would not be able to compete with me. What about opportunities for those young persons who are looking to become chefs? You know, who are looking, look, for example, I was a farmer. I mean, I had a farm, but I had to close down my farm. I run the farm for an entire year without any support. I've reached out to extension officers to visit the farm. I put thousands of dollars into it, and not once did an extension officer, any governmental, any person visit the farm and said, how can we help? We see that you're trying to contribute to increasing the food base. We see that you're trying to help address the issue of food security, because the cost of food in the market is very expensive. And that is all young people are asking for, the support and the opportunity. I know we don't have much time, but do you have any closing words for our listeners, or young people who would look at that live viewing on social media? Do you have any final words for them?
Well, first and foremost, I have a lot to say. I'm a man of many words. I just want you to continue to believe, continue to be strong. Hope is not lost. This awakening is going to spread as a wildfire in Grenada, and more young people are going to come together, unified with one voice, and this country will rise to the place that it deserves. And having this as a seed that is planted into that, I would say, that ocean of consciousness is very beautiful, and it will grow. And to the young people, there is hope. There is a Joel Greenidge, there is an Augustine Lewis, there is a Tevin Andrews, there is a George Cadet, and I just wanna, just before I leave, I just wanna thank you, Joel, as well, for having me on. Thank Mr. George Grant. I think that is wonderful, having a platform whereby young people can be on. I truly thank you. And to every supporter, to everyone who has tuned in, I want to thank you for your audience and your time. On Sunday, 17th March, I will be on the NDC Heartbeat program from 12 o'clock, so you can look forward to me. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys.
I mean, it was really an exciting program. At the same time, I also want to thank Mr. George Grant for really giving us this opportunity, and for believing in young people. I want to thank the many Grenadians in the diaspora. I mean, you have reached out to me over the years, have offered your encouragement, your support. I know that you believe in Grenada and you want the best for Grenada, and you believe that young people are not just good for political votes, but we are also assets in transforming our country. To every young person out there, I just want you to know this: history is going to judge you. History is going to judge you. History will ask you this question: when our country was faced with imminent collapse, what did you do? And I want the history books to read that our generation stepped forward boldly and defended the right to our dreams. So I just want to encourage you to keep the conversations going on in your community, keep the fighting spirit, break the mold of silence, and begin to speak out, because young people voice matters. We are agents of change, and we are going to lead this country to the mountaintop of prosperity. I am very, very optimistic for the future. See you next week. We'll be tuning in. One love, Grenada. Peace. I give you the final few seconds to big up your crew, man. Big up your fans.
I just want to reach out to everyone and just stay woke, stay conscious, stay positive. Until next week. Goodbye.